All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining this edition of Build Mode. My name is John Nair. It is always a privilege, always a pleasure to bring you these Build Mode webinars where we talk about AI and operations and how we can make them work together inside of the Vendasta platform. And for those of you who haven't attended before, I've been running this series weekly for the past little bit, and we're going to move to a bi-weekly cadence coming up right away. Just with the busy schedules that everyone has in the end of the year, I want to make sure that we're not overloading you, but we've got lots of great content to come and share. And for those of you who want to catch up, we have all of our sessions available on YouTube as well, too, including this one, which is getting recorded right now. And today's session is a fun one where we look at conversation flow architecture. So we've spent some time talking about some of the different components of AI employees and how you can sort of build up their knowledge, capabilities, and tools. But this one is it's sort of building on top of these ideas, but also is a little bit of a side journey into how you make your AI employee work in sort of this conversation flow. So on today's agenda, we are going to spend some time understanding what a multi-turn conversation means and what it looks like across capabilities. I'll have a demo of that for us. I'm going to talk about how AI employees read prompts that we have in capabilities, as well as just in general. And we're also going to talk a little bit about determinism versus non-determinism. And I'm not getting philosophical on us here. This is about how we want our systems to work. And this is really important to understanding when we're doing a conversation flow architecture. And we're going to take some time to expand upon my multi-turn conversation architecture. If we have some interested folks in the chat who are ready to participate, we're going to do this together live. But if not, I have an example to show as well for us too. So with that in mind, let's get to it. Let's see a I said multi-tool, I'm so sorry. See a multi-capability workflow in action here. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here. And this is a wonderful demo account for Mr. Handy Helper here in Saskatoon. And my chat receptionist here is going to go through a very specific flow that I want to have for my business, where it is going to make sure to capture my lead information so that at the very minimum, we're able to know that I reached out just in case, I'm doing this on my phone and I drop off. It's also going to make sure that we cover or I should say that the person reaching out, me in this case, is serviced in the service area, that we're not promising to work for someone who we don't go out to, and that before we go through with an appointment, we make sure to let the person know that there is a fee associated with any time I get called out, so that there's no surprises when the technician arrives. So let's see what that looks like through this conversation. Hey, can you fix my stove? Not an unreasonable request for a handyman. Hey, Mr. Handy Helper. We handle a wide range of repairs. Happy to assist. Can I get your name? Sure, I'm Jeb. I'm Jeb today. Oh, it's getting my 10-digit phone number. Very good. That's important. Area codes and all that. So I'll put in the area code. I get the postal code, confirm that we're in the service area availability. Okay, great. Awesome. We serve your area. We can help with the repair. Can you describe the issue that you're having with the stove? It does not get hot enough. Definitely going to require a technician to come out and see, because that's not a great description. Great. We'll send a professional to diagnose and resolve. What would be your preferred date and time? Let's go with, Friday morning. All the way along here, you'll notice that the receptionist is going through the workflow that I scheduled or I shared out at the beginning. Awesome. We'll send one of your professionals. If you choose not to proceed with the repair, there will be a $59 trip and diagnostic fee. So great. We've already scheduled the appointment, but now my receptionist is letting me know about this fee before we go all the way through. So my AI receptionist did a great job of using its very detailed and full list of capabilities to go through a conversation flow with me that matched the way that my business worked. We'll look at these inside of the platform first, but I think it's really going to be a lot easier if we kind of break it down and look at it in a smaller sort of view. So let's go back and think about how LLMs, those things, large language models powering AI, how do they read? Well, if you've been attending our sessions before, then you will know that there is a language, I should say, that is pretty common. And often we like to write these in Markdown here. So I've got a Markdown capability, and you can see just a general short version of this workflow that I talked about. But actually, when we use Markdown, it helps the AI sort of understand things in importance. So that little single hashtag tells the LLM that that's a big heading. And you can see it makes it a lot easier for the LLM to read and understand all the things that it needs to know. It makes a lot of sense. This is kind of like how you would work with reading something. You see the headings, you scan them, and it helps you find the information that you need to find. But there are some other things about LLMs that have been proven in studies so far that are helpful for us to understand how we should be building these prompts. So our AI goes through a workflow or a conversation the way that we would like it to. One is very common and easy to understand for humans, and that's that things at the top, it sets the frame of understanding the rest of what we're going to read. So that's why Vendasta has our purpose prompt or something like a default personality that you might put in at the front. And this is the first thing the AI sees, and it sort of helps it understand how to interpret and use the rest of its prompt or the rest of the capabilities that we have inside of our AI employee. So the beginning sets the frame. Super easy. It kind of makes sense when that's how we read things as well too. Now, at the bottom, there has been a lot of different studies about how AI handles things at the bottom of a prompt. And Anthropic put out a study that said effectively later instructions are followed better. So we all agree that the beginning sets the frame, but then things that are at the bottom are generally followed better, says Anthropic, makers of Claude and Sonnet and all that. OpenAI did a separate study, and it said something kind of similar. It said that instructions at the bottom tweak the specifics of things we said at the top. So this is some differences that we're seeing in how different large language models work. And it's important to know that they're not going to be all exactly the same. But there are these things that we're seeing that, generally speaking, the stuff that we have at the bottom is important. The beginning sets the frame. Here's the default personality. And then sort of the last thing that is in the prompt is going to have a big impact on how the rest of the prompt works. So how do we make sure that this bottom capability, prompt, what have you, creates the workflow or conversation that we want? Well, the way that we did it in this diagnostic fee example is we used a condition. Inside, we say only provide fees after collecting postal code. We set the frame. Hey, you're going to be helping out the home repair business. You're going to introduce yourself, be conversational and be succinct. Here's a whole bunch of junk in the middle. Oh, and by the way, for that diagnostic fee, only provide fees after collecting a postal code. Imagine you're someone who's just skimming through a document and you get to the bottom and you see something that says only collect fees after postal code. Okay, dang, well, then I better find out where I collect that postal code and when I do it. And this condition that we put in then helps the AI to understand and connect postal code on the diagnostic fee with capturing the postal code in the lead capture capability. So by having these connections inside of our different capability prompts, we're making sure that the AI is going to capture a lead with the name, phone number, and postal code, and not provide a diagnostic fee until it does those things. It's also interesting to note here, I have this example at the bottom of the condition working for us, but you'll notice that actually there's a lot of condition language inside of this prompt. And this is how computers work. And it's kind of interesting to see that there's this logic following through in LLMs. Always end with a question. This tells the AI to always do this. Before proceeding, you need to collect these things. But if the user skips a step, do this before continuing. All of these conditions, the before, the after, the when, those are really important to help AI know where to go in the workflow or the conversation that we're having. Now, one note on why I have capability lead capture up somewhere up at the top. There is mixed studies on this saying that things that are closer to the top are sometimes more important. We know for sure that the very first thing you do sets the frame. And we know for sure that things at the bottom are generally, followed with more detail or I get more specific. And it seems that things closer to the top are sometimes more important. So it's a good idea to have those key first actions closer to the top. And that works really nicely because that's how we as humans like to read things as well too. But the stuff in the middle can all be pretty fuzzy. So it's important to have these conditions that guide the conversation the way that we want to. Now, I do want to talk briefly about determinism versus non-determinism here. And this is an important concept when we're really thinking about what are we trying to do with our AI employees or our AI workflows or what have you. And on the left, we see an example of a deterministic workflow. Something happens to start it, and then it's either step 2A or it's either step 2B. And based on which of those two things happen, then we're going to either get steps 3A or B or a different version of steps 4A and 4B. That means that we're going to get really consistent, solid, predictable outputs. And that's really good for business process, but generally speaking, that's not exactly how people have conversations or even how we necessarily think. There's a little bit of non-determinism happening when we communicate. And that's one of the things that's really special about AI is that it does a really good job of doing smart, intelligent, and unique outputs. But they don't always end up being exactly the same. So we can't always rely on things working the exact same way each and every time. There's a plus to that, and there's a minus to that. As a human, I know I personally really enjoy having those sprawling conversations that jump around and go in different places, but it might not be exactly what works for a business process. And here's the thing: as we build out more of those structured pieces of conditional logic and if and when in our prompts to do those conversational architecture pieces, I think it's important to note that my Mr. Handy Helper definitely was very, very instruction and uh, deterministic workflow heavy. May I have your name? Thank you. Could you please provide your 10-digit phone number? Thanks. It's very dry and not too unique. Now you can try and prompt a little bit of that out there. And there are some examples where the AI is doing a great job of sort of filling out the conversation and making it more interesting. But the more that we try to make that deterministic flow, the more likely it is that things might not go exactly the way we planned. So it's entirely possible, and it's very good to have these sort of deterministic conversation flows where one thing is going to happen after another thing happens. But you have to be really careful that things don't completely break if one thing is out of order. So, with that in mind, I would love to do a quick demo. I'm curious if anyone in the chat has an example of something that they would like to add to our conversational workflow. So we're making sure it's capturing a lead, we're making sure it's verifying a location, and we're making sure that we're giving a information about a diagnostic fee. Is there something else in a handyman workflow that would make sense to include and be sort of part of the workflow? I'll take a moment to look at the chat, but I have a backup in case no one is prepared. All right, then let's go with the idea of understanding make and model. Ooh, well, that's related. I actually have a way easier way to do that for you, and I'll show it right now since we're here. There's this great new thing that we've added to the capture lead capability, and you can go in and edit the prompt however you like. And you'll notice that I edited this prompt to say, hey, collect the name first, then collect the phone number or email address. Talked about it being 10-digit phone numbers. That's why the AI was very specific about that. And then postal code. And I gave it a lot of instructions around not assuming the user is in the same area as the business, not inferring a zip code, or if it looks like a phone number, do not assume it's a zip. Lots of that information. But a nice thing that is now simple in our UI is you can choose fields to capture from conversations and have them automatically added to the CRM. So it's automatically doing first name, last name, phone, and email when it gets those. And although it's not collecting postal code in the CRM, it is capturing it in the message. And we can add any of the contact fields that are available here. So if we wanted to capture, additional emails, we could have that added there too. And that would then automatically appear in the CRM. I'm going to give one more module example, is if Mr. Handy Helper is doing a whole bunch of different types of business, or I should say different kinds of servicing, maybe they only work with specific types of appliances. So I'm going to add in a capability. I'm going to create a new capability, and I'm going to call it appliance repair guidelines. This is just for me to be able to understand. And same with this description. Covers which appliances we do fix. I'm going to give it a very specific goal here. And that's going to be understand the appliance make to confirm we can service it. Awesome. Those two number signs are telling us that this is an important piece. It's not as important as if it was a single. The double there, awesome. If someone asks about fixing an appliance, you must find out what make it is to determine if we service it. This little mark down there makes it bold, makes it very important. And you know what? Let's put that in all capitals. Why not? We've got our nice condition there. If someone asks about fixing an appliance, awesome. If we do not service that make, please let them know and apologize. We're going to add a subheading of approved makes. Let's go LG, Samsung, and Whirlpool. We don't need to put in any API tools or anything else fancier than this. This is probably going to be enough. Go there, hit save, and let's do a quick test. I'm resetting my cookies for the My Listing page, which we can use as a demo. And I'll do a refresh. Hey, can you help me fix something? We're starting out generic, and the AI is figuring out whether it is going to capture lead capture information first. Awesome, it's doing exactly what I wanted it to. Always get lead capture information. I'm Jed, different person than Jeb. And phone number, awesome. If I was really trying to improve this prompt, I might not make my instructions so specific about 10-digit phone number, because that's a little weird. But there we go. There's a nice fake phone number that fits within the service area. And postal code, let's make sure it's in an area that works. Actually, let's make sure it's one that doesn't work. Let's see what happens. Oh, I accidentally got a Saskatoon postal code. Well, there you go. That works. Great. What would you like help fixing today? My washing machine. And because of that if statement inside of our capability, our AI receptionist wants to make sure we know the make of the washing machine. Let's say Electrolux. Great European brand, but unfortunately not serviced by Mr. Handy Helper. And our AI receptionist did a great job of answering that question, or I should say, confirming that it can't help me with that. Can you do LG fridges? And once we get back onto that right track, our conversational flow will still continue, eventually getting us to the end diagnostic fee. So we are at time. I'll stay around for questions as well. But before you all leave, I do want to really quickly highlight a few quick tips for building these multi-turn conversations. And purpose inside of the AI employee, that's always at the top. And so that framing that we see is really, really great for getting the role and behavioral guidelines. So make sure that matches what we want. Consistent human readable naming is easy to read and write. So when you're referring to different capabilities or different parts of the workflow, you don't have to try and use super fancy code systems and things like that. As long as it's something that is consistent and human readable, that's going to make it a lot easier for you to be able to set up your AI employee. You can have more modules, which gives more information, but it leaves more potential for error. I've shown that it's completely possible to have multiple capabilities with multiple branching paths in a non-deterministic workflow, but you don't need to have that information each and every time. So consider how many modules you really, really need to get the outcomes that you want. And all of those if, then, when conditional statements, they really help connect capabilities for AI and make it so that you can move through a conversation flow and have all of the different potential outcomes covered based on what might happen.